Tensions in the Ukrainian war rise. New threats are on the table for the nukes to fly. Indeed, Russia is, through multiple sources now on their state TV, which is an official organ of the Russian state government, making threats of nuclear war against NATO and the United States directly. They're saying that the United States is in their crosshairs. Not only that, but we may know, and we've talked about before, how the Polish are talking about going into Ukraine to assist the Ukrainian forces, also possibly the Baltics, should they not get the kind of support that they're expecting them to get at the Vilnius summit. But on top of that, they've been talking about going into Belarus. And Lukashenko, the president of Belarus, has said that he will not hesitate to use these new nukes that he's getting right now. He is getting new nukes sent to him. He said he would not hesitate to use those in the defense of Belarus. That makes it sound like anything would prompt him to pull the trigger. He talks like he's got an itchy hair trigger. So is this why Putin is sending those over there, so that he can let Belarus do his dirty work for him? Holy smoke, guys. And that's not the only thing. If those nukes aren't flying, there's something else that's going to be in the battlefield, and that's depleted uranium. The Biden administration has agreed to send depleted uranium to the forces in Ukraine. Depleted uranium is nasty because it's radioactive. It's very dense, so it makes a great anti-armor weapon. It'll punch through the armor like nothing else. However, when it hits that armor, some of that stuff comes off in dust, some of it gets burnt, and some of it will go up in smoke perhaps, and that stuff is radioactive. It's been alleged that that stuff is a source for cancer, where it was used in the Iraqi wars. And it's been alleged that, some of our guys might have got sickness from it. It may be part of the Iraq war sickness, according to some people. That's not been proven. And there's other things that are attributed to that too. However, it's not good. Some people think there's a lot more cancer rates in the children than other people in Iraq today because of the use of depleted uranium. But Putin said, hey, if you're going to use depleted uranium, that's a dirty bomb. We'll use dirty bombs back. And then he came back later and has said, oh, what we're going to do, we're going to put depleted uranium in the battlefield too. You shoot us with depleted uranium, we'll shoot back with it. Well, they got nuclear reactors and making all sorts of depleted uranium in Russia, so they could do that. So this makes the war a lot dirtier at the very least, but it also has potential for escalation, as we know and shall see. So this depleted uranium, it's nasty, but all this other talk about the use of nukes, you may think, well, they've been barking for a while about this stuff, and they have, but the tensions are getting a lot higher now, especially that now that the Ukrainians are on their counteroffensive, and with this big exercise going on with the Air Defender 23, with the biggest NATO air exercise in the history of NATO. And you look at, even if that becomes of nothing, what's going to come out of the Vilnius summit? And there's, like I said, talk of if NATO don't go in and give them more support to Ukraine, that in some fashion, that some of the NATO members might do that. All these things threaten to bring the ante up and maybe take us closer to World War III, to nuclear war, especially considering that Belarus seems to have that happy trigger finger. So I'm going to show you some articles on this, guys. I'm going to try to be quick with this. And hang on, bing, bing, bing. So let's go into this. Here we go. As we know, and I've shown you before, Margarita Simon of Russia Today has spoken about these kind of things in the past, but she's not the only one talking about this now. And this is one of the articles where Margarita Simon, the editor-in-chief, so she's the chief editor of Russia Today, which is an official Russian news source. And she made this predictions and claimed that Russia has the right to declare NATO countries as legitimate targets, as if they got the right now, because how deep NATO is already into this war and the way they're directly supporting Ukraine. I mean, we're providing the armaments, we're providing the intelligence, we're telling the Ukrainians where to shoot, how to shoot. We're doing everything except allegedly not pulling the trigger for them. So guys, this has really got them up. So now here's another one coming out here. And as you can see, they're saying here that they warn a U.S. a nuclear strike will happen. They're saying that U.S. is in the crosshairs. And you can see this guy is saying, because if this keeps going on like this, it will definitely happen. Now, is this true? Is it just more hype? or is this the real thing? It's hard to say. But guys, this is Mr. Anton Gerashenko, and he is actually the Ukrainian Internal Affairs Minister. So he's actually okay. Hang on a minute. Yeah, this guy is an official. Let's see. I got my hairs crossed here. He's not the one that made the threat. Anyway, yeah. So as a political commentator made that. So yeah, Anton Grashenko. He was pointing this out on Twitter. He was bringing this up, guys. But anyway, so this is the commentator on the Russian news, guys, saying this. So, all right, I got my hairs crossed myself talking about crosshairs. Pardon me. But here we are, guys. It's late. I'm recording this at 1 a.m. I'll post it later. Leader of Belarus said he wouldn't hesitate to use the nuclear weapons to repel aggression. Now, he didn't say in here that it had to be a threat, a direct threat. He said repel aggression. Does this mean if it crosses border, he's going to use them? Well, that's what he seems to be saying. Does he really mean that? Yeah. See, that's a problem with all this. You know, there's a lot of guessing and second guessing, guys, involved in this. What does all this mean? Well, I'll tell you what it means. It means we need to be wise and prep on our side just in case things go south. Because, like I said, it might be that Putin is using this guy for cover to do his dirty work for him. That is quite possible. So, guys, if you're not prepping, you better start. Right now, we've got a good deal here on prepwithgreg.com. If you go to prepwithgreg.com, links below, you can get $200 off a 3-month supply, which is 6 of these buckets here, my friends, that last you 25 years, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Over 2,000 calories a day. That's a good deal. A lot of competitors don't offer that much. And if you can't handle that, the 2-week supply, which is a single bucket, is only $127. So check it out, guys. There's a lot of other prepping supplies. Just go up here and click on My Patriot Supply, and it takes you to all kind of other things, air filtration, water filtration, survival items. Check it out, prepwithgreg.com. Enough said about that. Let's move on. So one thing else happened, though. Russia's lost one of its top generals. Now, I showed you this last night in my live session where we went in and was looking at the war map, and it popped up right off then. So I think that was before it was even announced on any news media. So if you see that newscast I did from last night live, we got it as fast as anybody, I do believe. But the guy was only 52 years old, Major General Sergei Gorbachev. So in any event, excuse me, guys. So they're losing some key people. Oops, I don't know what that was. Anyway, so Russia's captured U.S. tanks headed for Ukraine. This is a nightmare blow. Well, they've actually got running tanks. They got tanks that are operating. They didn't just capture blown up tanks. They got them in operation. And there's video of some of them running. I don't know if this is one of those videos, but we can play a snippet of it if it'll load. It's taking too long. My internet's been too long. Let's skip that. I've been having some connectivity issues, so I need to hurry up and get this broadcast done. Anyway, and they're claiming these are trophies. Bradley. Oh my gosh, I'm dropping out. I don't even know what got covered there. Anyway, what I said was that the Russians have captured Bradley fighting vehicles and Leopard tanks. So, you know, I really think, you know, it's too bad that we don't still have the Sheridan tank in our inventory. When I was in the Army at Fort Bragg, which I'll always call it Fort Bragg, they had this airborne tank. It was a light tank that could drop it out of an aircraft on a parachute. That's what it was designed for, the M551 Sheridan tank. We had a whole bunch of them there. I think somewhere I got a picture of a whole yard full of these things, one of the military motor pool yards. There were a lot of them there. If you had to deal with the fortifications like the Russian fortifications and you wanted to get on the other side of it instead of going through it, you could just be parachuted down on the other side with your tanks and your airborne troops, and then you could hit them from the rear. Of course, Ukraine can't do that because they don't really have air cover, and so they wouldn't be able to get those kind of drops to take place. But if they had air cover, that would be the kind of thing they could do and hit the Russians from the back. And if we were in a war, that's kind of the way we would want to conduct the war, except we discontinued these. Now there's talk of replacing this with a new tank. So what, just give you a quick here, the Bradley fighting vehicle, this is the Bradley. This is what the what's getting captured over there in Ukraine, and this is not loading very well. Sorry for the blurry picture. I'm not going to wait on it to clear up. Anyway, so this is a lightly armored vehicle. I mean, it's got a gun on it, which will help, dispel and keep the other armor and stuff running while you're in it. But this armor isn't that heavy. It's probably better than a 113, but it's not as good as a regular tank. So I would be very reluctant to want to ride in one of these, to be honest, because when I was in the Army, we did ride in these M113s. And the Bradley always just seemed to me to be a souped up 113 with a turret on it, although they don't claim in the history of the Bradley it's got anything to do with the 113. But when we used to go around in the 113s, they would tell us that when we thought we saw aircraft, we had to dismount. We had to get out and run hide in the bushes because the tank was a target. And from an aircraft, they could certainly blow it to smithereens, and you would cease to exist. They're only good for light armor. They're good for light weapons fire, like the small caliber stuff. Like a rifle. I'll say it carefully here so I don't get dinged. Anyway, so here we are. They're talking about sending depleted uranium. I kid you not. And Putin, I thought I had an article on Putin responding to that. Okay, maybe it's further down in here. But hey, Putin is said to be losing 900 soldiers a day, according to Kyiv. Of course, this is Kyiv talking. Each side makes claims and counterclaims, and there's so much propaganda that you got to take all the numbers from either side with a large bucket of salt. He says, had we had F-16s, it would have been different. Yeah, well, no kidding. Here's some of the pictures of some of the Leopard tanks that were hit, taken out by the Russians. So they are having a rough time, but they're going up against some tough fortifications. There's some claims that they're making some headway, but it's mighty slow. This article says cracks are appearing in Ukraine's offensive, making Putin sweat. It might be stressing it, but they've not made any major breakthroughs. So, they're saying cracks. What they're looking for is to find where the artillery from the Russians is less intense. So maybe they can use that as a place to bridge and come through. So Putin's actually making threats to seize into Ukraine. He's actually talking about going straight into Kyiv, making another complete offensive like they did originally in the war. Could they pull it off this time? Remains to be seen, guys. But they've got a lot of troops they've not mobilized in Russia. There's always been a lot of people asking why didn't they mobilize a lot of the other elite units that have not been mobilized yet. So maybe they're contemplating that now. I don't know. So let's see. Heck with that. Okay, when it comes to this, I'm gonna have to share again. I am having trouble. My stream is breaking down on me, and I shouldn't have to have a live stream with the internet connection just to record on my computer. This is crazy. Anyway, this guy right here, Ryan Macbeth, he's got a lot of military experience. He's been in the service, and he comes in here and gives a big breakdown on why the dam failure was likely not an explosion. Neither the Russians nor the Ukrainians did it. It was done probably because they didn't have the Russians didn't want to go release the sluice gates over the side close to the where the Ukrainians were, because where they would get sniped at. They opened the sluice gates on the side where they were at. But what happened was, and he has the satellite photographs to show us, that dam got overtopped. But where the sluice gate was running, there's so much water going through that it stalled, that it undercut the dam there and made it weak. You can see the roadway over actually came through first, and was signs of cracking on it. And when you look at all the photographs he's got, satellite photographs, he makes a very convincing case that this actually happened somewhat naturally, but also through neglect. So there's a lot of things to bring into that. So in any event, guys, also there's warnings about the catastrophic loss of our grid here in the United States, or catastrophic consequences, just because we're shutting down coal and gas power plants, guys. So I just want to point that out. And I'm going to save this other stuff for my live session tomorrow. Anyway, enough said with all that. So what this boils down to is we have a lot of threats to our security. You need to prepare. You need to prepare. Well, even if we don't get nuked, we could get EMP'd. And if that don't even happen, there can be grave disruptions to our supply chain. There's more stuff coming out about how there's grains that Russia was allowed to be shipped to the Black Sea. They're shutting that down. We don't have the kind of fertilizers being shipped around we had, and our grain forest harvest this year is running low. So there's plenty to be concerned about right here. So get ready, prepare, prep, prep for the worst, and pray, prep and pray, and hope for a better day. With that, I'm gonna say thank you for watching. If you're not subscribed to my channel, subscribe, bang the notification bell, and click all. And with that, I'm gonna say, Greg out.